Okay, it's episode 19 of What If History Restarted. Last time, the Cypriot Empire is even more gargantuan. Some stuff happened over here in Europe, and the whole peaceful era that the world was kind of in is definitely over by now, as a lot of countries are fighting and killing each other. But, yeah, we're just gonna get into things. Of course, we're gonna start off with our good old pals, the Cypriots. So they're kind of like, they don't want to go into Europe anymore because these are like the most unstable areas of the empire, especially mainly in like Italy and recently even in Greece, as well as just like up here. So instead, they're going to focus on conquering some new land over here. So we have this. These are their two targets. There's this one that was like the lower class of Persia. And there's the Indus River Valley, who I think has been here since episode 1. Definitely early on in the series, though. I mean, we still are pretty early. If there's going to be 100 episodes, which I don't even know if that's going to be it, then we're only like a fifth of the way through. But anyway, Cypriots are just going to get right into things. They're going to, well, actually, that's fine. They're just going to start pushing into the purple team and a little bit into the Indus River Valley. It goes pretty well. They go along this border, and they encircle their capital, which eventually falls over. Turn on the trade routes. They start their invasion down here in the trade route, taking all of this land over, and then severing the countries in two. Let me know if you like it better when I have the invasion colors being like slightly different, like they are here. That's how it's done in WICSO. Or if you just want it to be the same color like this. I kind of like it better like as a one color, but maybe this is starting to grow on me a little bit. But anyway, the purple country is once again cut, now being in half. In from the top part falls, followed by this part, eventually the country to capitulate. Much of the same happens with the Indus River Valley, which now by itself stands no chance against Cyprus. And so, if we just don't do that, they eventually get whittled down all the way to this peninsula, where and after their capital is threatened, they officially surrender. So, for the peace treaty, if we just undo everything, Cyprus is, guess what, going to be fully annexing this country. Now, for the Indus River Valley, they did want to fully annex it, but a lot of the citizens, a lot of the citizens are very, like, what are they called? Patriotic. So after fully annexing it for like a couple months, there's a lot of rebellious areas here, and it's just too much, especially from how far away it is from the capital. And so because of that, Cyprus is going to rework the peace treaty and actually allow them to live, but just barely at all. They now look like this. Nope, not that. Yes, they now look like that, just on their little peninsula. And they then go over to this gray India team, and if you look here, most of it is in the lime religion, which is not Cyprus's. That's kind of confusing, but it's not. But some of it is in the pink religion. So what Cyprus is going to go ahead and do is going to start like telling the lime team that they would be better off with the Cypriots than they would with the pink religion areas over here. And this is they're just gonna invade still, but this should hopefully make it easier for them to hold down this land in the peace treaty. Especially since a lot of these citizens were just conquered, so they probably aren't going to be very patriotic. Anyway, they go down the coast like this, and they go to the capital, and at this point every country in the world, other than the American ones, know that just surrender when the Cypriots start attacking you. So after their capital falls, they're just like, yeah, you can just leave us alone, please. So Cyprus is going to do what they planned. They're going to take most of this coast. They now look like this. They now have a new idea for this country, though, and it's going to be our first puppet state. I'm not exactly sure how I want to show this, but what I could do is something like, maybe like this. Whoa, that looks terrible. Well, sure. We'll just leave it like that. I mean, is there anything better. Could do dashes. I like this idea, but trellis, no. Checkerboard. Dotted diamond. Okay, that just looks like border gore. We'll just go with this. Yeah, that actually works. So yeah, and that's how to show that they're a puppet state. Anyway, the Cypriot Empire is now officially too big, so now they're just going to focus on, like, internal stuff, but the Cypriot Empire has a lot of very smart leaders, and that's why they've done so good at being an empire. So with that, we're actually going to see a couple new major cities pop up. We have this one, which goes kind of along the trade route. And this one, pretty much just Istanbul/Constantinople. This one over here. And even one down here at the very end of this trade route. And finally, I know I just said and, but this is actually the end. One more right here. Well, I'm sure there's already a pretty big city right here because the trade route bends to get to it, so yeah. Oh, wow. The entire world is this now. Anywho, we're now going to switch back over to Europe, which is finally relevant. We're going to mainly look at the UK right now. So, a lot of these countries just formed, and they're pretty, most of them don't like each other. And that is especially apparent as we see a rebellion take place up here in northern Wales. It goes like this. No, that's not what I want anymore. Yes, that. So this rebellion takes place out of both of these countries because they just want to be their own thing. I keep doing that. Capital's right there. But the other countries are actually going to be okay with this because they don't want to have to manage these citizens rebelling constantly. And it's going to inspire some Irish citizens to try and do the same, where we now see the entire country split in half. This country might be a little bit bigger, but yeah. These guys' capital will just be right here. That's what they look like. Now, if you look at the Scottish country, basically their whole strategy is, if they have their capital up here, then you have to go through, like, all of this area to get to it. And this is just, like, swamps and mountains and just terrible. So by the time any troops get to here, it's going to be, like, they're going to have no morale left. That also means that their citizens are going to hate living here, especially since their entire country is kind of like that. But, they think it's worth it. Most of their citizens live down here, though, so live, like, right on the border. There's just, like, the government up here, maybe, like, a little bit of people. But anyway, this thing is going to go to war with the brown team. We don't really need to know why, he just probably wants land, or maybe some minor dispute happened. And this war is just kind of going to go back and forth for a little while, until eventually it gets to a stalemate around here. So these guys are just going to take this, with the brown team now looking like that. In the former countries from the yellowish team, we see that they're not getting along too well, as this Dutch one is going to start going after this one, which starts to go pretty well for the Dutch one. They take his capital, splitting in two. And then this falls, but then France is going to join in on this. And they're going to start going after both of these countries simultaneously. So they get to about here, but then we see that Brittany is now going to start joining in on this. Oh, and now they have to redirect some of their troops, so this goes pretty well, but they are pushed out by the Dutch team, but because the Dutch team is now pushing them back, this team is now able to recapture some of their lost land. But anyway, brown team, I guess you could call this England. I mean, London's right here, so in real life, these guys are going to start their invasion and take the capital. And from there, the entire government starts falling apart, especially as North Italy starts to invade. It was pretty powerful. One of the strongest countries in the world. Although it's not saying a lot because I don't think 10 of them could beat the Cypriots. I don't think 15 of them could beat the... Well, no. I'd say it takes 13 North Frances to beat the Cypriots. Which is a lot of North Frances. Because they are probably the... They're probably the second most powerful country at this point. I think I call them North France. I keep saying that because they're more like French than Italian now. Even though they're definitely not Northern France, because that would be this country, if anything. But anyway, speaking of this country, it continues just to die. And so now the war is kind of just between the Dutch and the bluish team, in which, since the Dutch have been weakened a lot, the blue team is going to see a lot of success in pushing back here and getting all the way up here. And this country is going to join in as well. And soon enough, the Dutch team will fall. So, looking at this peace treaty, we are going to change this major city into a major city, from a capital to a major city. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm also moving a little bit more northern. I want it to be coastal. Where's the trade route? Yeah, that makes sense. So, anyway, as you can tell, this country is going to be fully divided. But anyway, just to get on with it, this city is not large enough to be a major city, so it is just going to be wiped out. Go to the world map. You see that this team is going to get split kind of in half by these two, but this team is given more land since they were like more involved in it being destroyed. These guys are also going to get a nice chunk out of North France. So yeah, this is North France, this is North Italy. Anyway, Brittany is going to get a lot of this coastal region, and the brownish team is going to get this, and North France is going to get the rest. North Italy. Goodness gracious. Let me know if I should just call this North France, North Italy, or just like, I don't know what to call this. France, I guess, but the capital's in Italy. I'm not sure. But anyway, speaking of them, if we look at the religion map, you can see that they're pretty much one religion except for over here. But more importantly, you can see that the religion is kind of uneven with the Gibraltarian religion. So these guys are actually going to go ahead and try and, because they are allies, they are going to try and rework their border peacefully, which goes pretty well. I guess we could just do like that. Yeah, that works. So yeah, that is the border now. And anyway, you see up here in Scandinavia, a lot more exploration goes on, if we can get that right, with pretty much all of the non-freezing areas being found. And with that, we're going to see the first couple countries pop up. We have this, I guess you could call this Norwegian. It's going to be pretty oddly shaped. It's going to have like a little peninsula going out to the sea. Speaking of the sea, they're too close in color, so let's just change that. Yeah, okay, yeah, it looks terrible, so make it like that. Still looks bad, but it's fine. It's kind of recognizable, kind of realistic for this time period. And we also see this Swedish one get made, as well as finally one more down here in the south. This goldish Swede team right down there. Look at the cities, each one needs a capital. So we have Oslo pretty much, but then these two get unique ones. But also, good old St. Petersburg is going to come over here and take some of Scandinavia for themselves, which isn't received too well by these countries. There's no one really up here yet, but if I had to say, these guys would probably be a new branch. So, probably of the blue team. So we'll just draw it like this will be. Okay, yeah. So this will be this religion, and then the rest, not of the world. The rest of this sort of area. How does the religion map work? Let's just, yeah. Okay, so there's literally, like, barely any borders. I'm not sure how I even did this in the first place. Here. If we go to the world map, select this, all of this, and then go to the religion. I think, theoretically, yes. Okay, we did it. Hooray. Let's just cut it back a little bit. But you can see that there's now all these people. You can also see this be a new branch. So this is slightly lighter than red, so it's going to get slightly lighter again. But it can't be this slightly lighter, so we're also going to make it more grayish. So, world map. These guys, let's include a lot of land. Religion. So yeah, this is now what the religion map looks like up in these northern European areas. I would say though there would probably be some Russian natives by this point, so let's just go ahead and make that a thing, because why not? You have this brownish religion. I'll even give it another branch. I'm not saying that this is just getting created now, but like, it's just like, I'm just adding it to the map now. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, make it nice and complex, because that's what we love to see. Sure. Okay. Anyway, Cypriots managing their internal affairs are also going to do a little bit and explore up here. Not that far, but they do find this river and some of the Russian natives. And then over here in Europe, if we look at the religion there is very important, I feel. I'm using it a lot more than I expected. So that in this area, some of these people are going, we'll even use this color, are going to start their own thing. To form up along this coast. They're actually pretty big. So they look like the capital's going to be right up there. This country is going to expand on up. This one's going to go over here. And these two are going to start fighting. So let's get both of their colors ready. This one starts to push in first up in the north, and this one starts in the south. With them, the blackish one will start winning. They eventually surround the capital. And this one does kind of the same, but now the people of their capitals are starting to realize that they're about to get killed. So both of the militaries kind of have to retreat. And so now the war just starts getting evened out again. All the way to where it's just going to flip. So now these guys are in the south. And these are in the north. I should be using a smaller brush. Anyway, now we see that this one starts to try and encircle these guys, which we have successfully, and this falls over. They begin to march towards the capital, but the grayish one, who's the most powerful of these guys, is actually going to join in on the side of this pink one. So it reaches the capital, and so this country is going to repel its troops, but actually does a pretty nice job at keeping these guys back from the capital, though they do take like all of this. Plus these guys take all of this, but eventually it's going to be kind of a stalemate, and something's going to happen. They're going to sue for peace, and so in the peace treaty, we see this country taking, first of all, this little sliver up here, as well as this chunk down here, and this guy takes all of this. But notably, these guys still exist, so that's great for them. And over here, let's just add one more country pop up. Maybe these people are some like refugees from the Cypriot Empire. I'm not sure. You can make that up yourself if you want. But they're just going to look like that. Right there. So Europe is starting to finally get filled in. I know nothing's happening in the Americas, but like, let's just say someone has its government someone has its government completely replaced. And then some of the citizens aren't happy with the change, so they go ahead and break off into their own thing. And after expanding out past the Andes, because I think, no, this would still be going through the Andes, so there's going to look like this. So after doing this, they also, after finally making it through the Andes, they're now going to explore a decent amount past them on the coast. Running all this and this. Explore all the way up into Peru here. Or not explore, well they do explore, but also expand. They kind of thicken out down here, and this is where their capital's going to be. Meanwhile, these guys are going to meet, well the countries are going to meet, and almost immediately they're going to get into a war. Basically, once their borders met, they both wanted this chunk of land right here, but neither of them wanted to give the other team it, and eventually, after no negotiations really happened, they're just going to start fighting each other. This one's going to start, reaches like very far up the coast. The Seattle country tries to encircle it, and they almost are successful. But these guys encircle the encirclement, so now that happens. Flood troops come up here all the way, and we now see them meet all the way up here. They capture the capital, and soon enough the war is going to be ended, with the new with the new borders being just about here. The country taking all this. This aligns better with the well, we can use the religion map again. Hooray. But yeah, it's gonna align. Basically, the new borders just align with the religion map. So, that's great. But, yes, there. Why is it pink up there? What? Okay, there we go. And like these guys, after seeing that kind of fail, they're gonna go out and try to unite with some more of their people, which there is a decent amount up north. So Cascadia, I forgot, that's what I was trying to call them. I called them Seattle again, but Cascadia goes all the way up here, and also explores some of this ocean, obviously. Down in Africa, we see this exploration match up with this guy. So now we see this actually start to get bulked out a little. And also the same thing happens down here, with Gold Coast finding Gibraltar again. And these guys do not like each other, because Gibraltar says you abandon us, and Gold Coast says you abandon us. And so, but they're too far away to really fight a war, and neither of them care that much, so they just kind of are angry at each other. But we do see this guy pop up. Hooray. We take another look at the religion map. You can see that these guys are part of the Gibraltaran religion. You can thicken this out now as people are starting to live in the desert more. Why did that even happen? Oh. Yeah, we can thicken this out by a lot. This is the extended Gibraltaran people. Oh, no. Yes. So yeah, that country's kind of in the way now. But Gold Coast is just going to expand some more. But because of their kind of little feud going on with Gibraltar, we see a rebellion happen. These citizens just like want the government to go back. The rebellion is actually pretty stupid. The rebels, they're like, we should all just move back, because that's a great idea. But somehow there's a lot of people on these rebellion side, and eventually the groups that pop up end up looking something like this. And from there, these guys connect themselves up and take this major city, cutting it in two. From there, they focus in on the inner part, because that is the stronger part, which seems kind of stupid, but like this up here is barely doing anything, but they actually are able to break all this. And eventually they get to the capital, push down it like this. We see another rebel group pop up over there. We see a third rebel group pop up over, we just made a pink country, over here. And eventually this entire Gold Coast thing just kind of completely falls apart into chaos. Yeah. So, eventually, after like a decade more of just chaos, we're going to see some sort of a peace treaty be formulated. So, starting off, we see the original rebel group. Why are they not on this? Why can't I select them? Oh, that is them. Okay, yeah, I'm colorblind, don't hurt me. But, so yeah, the original rebel group is going to be the strong, aren't going to give them both major cities. These guys are probably the strongest now. We'll see what's going to happen to Gold Coast after this. So they look like this. We see another rebel group that was up here form into its own thing. Yeah, we can give them land up there, it's fine. So they're like that. Oh, I'm doing this on the cities layer, that's why I wasn't working. So yeah, these guys exist. Take some more land up here, as you can tell. We'll do the capitals after. We have a very dark one over in this western part, which almost takes the capital. You see a very large one, which isn't that powerful though, be in the main inner area of this country. And finally, this coastal area is split in two, with notably the original Gold Coast no longer existing. The government got completely overthrown and killed. Pretty much everyone was loyal to like one of these rebel groups, no matter which one it was. So the original government just really couldn't exist. And with that, we see the circle lines have no more use, and they're going to be dissolved. So yeah, this country is very sad that they just lost their friend. But they didn't give this guy a capital. But there's not much that they can do about it. Up here, in China, you see that the triangle team and the anti-upside down triangle team are kind of eyeing up this country at the same time. So they're both going to start invading it at the same time. Who would have guessed? So get pretty close to the capital. But then some orange team troops are kind of going to get a little rowdy, and they're going to spill over here into that Korea. And after that, the orange team government's just going to be like, oh well, and starts just going all in on Korea. And they take this major city. And obviously Korea is going to respond to this, because now the triangle and reverse triangle teams are at war. So, pretty quickly, first thing that we see happen really, Korea just completely decimates these Philippine islands. They also begin to make a landing over here in this country and in this one. It's very similar color to this country, so that doesn't look that good. It just makes these guys darker, I guess. We see that the original blue team is actually able to take all this land back because the orange team pulled out of it to just completely ravage through these areas, which actually goes pretty well. China, though, is still pushing in on the poor little blue team. And ancient China is going to join the anti-triangle alliance because they want their land back. So yeah, they join in. And their first target is, well, their main target, the country that they hate the most, is the Sianish China, because they are like their original territory. But ancient China actually has been like militarizing for a while now, so they're actually pretty strong. And their invasion is unexpected, so they actually managed to surround their capital like this, leading to them have to pull back these troops. So the blue team is now kind of restored. They're even going to launch their own small invasion into China, take that major city. The orange team in Korea are still battling it out, but the orange team and, well, the entire anti-triangle team wins pretty decisively. But however, is not in their own home turf, as they're actually getting kind of destroyed. This team loses their capital. Slowly but surely it starts to fall in. Up here, the triangle team, well, Korea's focusing all their troops down here. Well, more like they were down here, but now they're mostly down here. So basically, they just let the Sakhalin troops in to try and beat ancient China for them. But Sakhalin is not that strong, and they're definitely not as strong as ancient China. So, after making a small push, ancient China is going to kick them all the way back. They're not starting their own invasion, though, because they actually have pretty good military tactics, and they instead focus down here. And speaking of those pretty good military tactics, the capital of the Sian team is going to fall, which was the most populous city in all of China, other than maybe this one. So that's not great for Sian China, especially as they now meet up with the blue team. And ancient China is actually going to be chill with the blue team and not do anything to them. But anyway, Korea is pretty embarrassed by this, so they're naturally going to respond by kicking Sakhalin out of the Triangle Alliance. And Sakhalin is not happy with that, so now they're anti-triangle. So that wasn't smart. Anyway, they're now going to push down to these completely undefended Japanese areas, all the way down to here, taking this city. Korea, though, does manage to start an invasion of here, of their inland areas, which are very sparsely populated, especially in this area. However, this does allow for ancient China to now start pushing in. So, now they look like this, and they're actually 7-2 by ancient China. They also lose their foothold down here in Southeast Asia. And the blue team is going to go ahead and actually join with the Anti-Triangle Alliance. Oh man. Well, it's more like the Anti-Triangle Alliance lets the blue team in because they realize they're stronger than they thought. But anyway. They continue through here to kind of just push up. So, that's too different of a color. Don't take that out of context. They start pushing up into Sian, China, Cyania, I don't know. And the blue team takes all of this. Well, not all of it, because ancient China took some of it. You'll notice that Sakhalin is just kind of, Sakhalin, Baikal is just kind of watching this chaos unfold, and instead just powering themselves up for whatever comes next, instead of getting directly involved. And ancient China is going to go ahead and take out Cyania. From there, pretty much the entire Anti-Triangle Alliance can now just focus in on Korea, who, despite being the strongest, is severely outnumbered. So soon enough they get to here. Let's take this off for a second. And after a pretty bloody last little stretch, they're going to get surrounded. Their capital is going to get surrounded on two sides by Sakhalin sort of amphibian troops and the ancient Chinese army, and eventually falls over. So everything's fine and dandy now, right? Not really, because everyone here kind of still hates ancient China, if you remember. So they're immediately going to kick them out of the Anti-Triangle Alliance and then start invading them. So pretty quickly they take all of this and then all of this, and from there ancient China is kind of just kicked out. The capital is surrounded, just like Korea's was. Unfortunately, it's just too many troops for them, even Baikal now starts to see this as like a free land grab opportunity, so they take all of that. And eventually ancient China falls. So yeah. Taking a look at this peace treaty, there's a lot that happens, so gotta undo everything. Almost there though. Yes. So, first and foremost, the orange South China is going to be getting all of this land, and the Philippines are now going to be reclaiming their old territory and moving their capital back up here. And this is now a major city again. These guys, of course, get reparations and all that. The blue team, who was no one really expected to come out of this alive, but somehow was like actually pretty useful in this war, manages to secure a huge portion of land for their contributions, looking all the way like this. Lake Baikal, who just kind of joined in as a third party right at the end, is just given some of ancient China. Sakhalin is given the majority of Japan, as well as the majority of Korea. Or, I don't know what you would call that area. Kind of Manchuria, but not really. This little pocket down here is going to be turned into a new country. Not that color. No. We're just going to keep that as Korean. Next up, though, we see, if we take off the alliance map, we do see a new country, though, as this section of Siam, China is going to be broken off and make it its own thing. And, oh yeah, for ancient China, since literally everyone hates them, they are going to be they're going to be partitioned. So, we actually see Siam, China is even given land out of this, and Korea. That's how much everyone hates this thing. Just like they're giving their other enemies tons of land. Well, not tons, but land as well. Sakhalin gets this. This new country gets this, also getting a coastline in the process. And Lake Baikal is going to get the remainder, also getting a coastline in the process. So RIP, another Episode 1 country, being China, ancient China. As now just their descendants are left. That's going to be it for this video. This was a lot longer than I expected it to be, but yeah. So goodbye now.